Oh boy, I don't even know how to intro a pod like this. I don't know how to start this. Like I could just do the usual, oh, welcome to episode 3 of Footy and stuff, but I like to do the thing where we just sort of casually roll into the pod and then I do all that. But I don't know what to say right now. I feel like this is it. Football is a funny sport. I think this is it. Welcome to episode 3 of Footy and stuff. If you're new here, I don't usually sound like this. I actually don't know how this is coming across right now, but my voice is it feels like it's hanging on by a thread. I think I'm sort of getting across, but it could be better. It's probably running at like 70%, which isn't great. Um, if this is not your first episode, welcome back. Thank you for sticking around. This will be a fun one. Eventful round of footy, eventful Sunday of footy. But I'm not going to waffle for too long before we get into it because there's a lot to get through. A lot to get through. I'm going to be giving out, predicting, delivering my All Australian team for 2024. So this might, um, what's the word I'm looking for? My brain is mush after yesterday, if you can't tell. Um, uh, that back end of the pod might take a little longer than usual, is what I was trying to say. So we're going to get straight into it. No time wasted. Round review. Let's go. Start with Melbourne Collingwood. A real eventful start to the round. Real eventful start. Not in the best way because the game wasn't good. Then we had a big old delay in quarter four, which was just why, when there's 9 minutes left, would you not call off the game when neither team is affected by just calling the result as is? Like Collingwood were up by how much when the game got delayed? Game got delayed. They were up by goal. A little less than what they ended up winning by. I think it was like 42 points, maybe. Why? What does it do to make them wait it out and then play the last 9 minutes and nothing happens and the ladder is exactly how it would be if you called off the game? Neither team can make finals. I don't know what we're doing here. But nonetheless, yeah, game wasn't the greatest thing I've ever seen. Nick Dacos was very good. Josh Dacos was also very good. Nick will get 3 votes, which I think is good for the Brownlow because it's going to be so close. So close. I think it's a two-horse race now, and we'll talk about that later, potentially in a later episode closer to the Brownlow, where I sort of delve into that a little bit more. But um, yeah, Nick was outstanding. I don't think there's much to say about this game other than why. Why was it a thing? Saturday. Oh, blowout central on Saturday. Well, early Saturday anyway. Got a bit better by night time. Start with Hawthorn and North. I feel bad for North fans. I feel so bad for North Melbourne fans. I think when you have this block mid-season where you're sort of looking so much more improved, for this to then happen, two unforgivable losses in a row, quite frankly. Granted, I think the two teams they've lost to are probably the two best teams in the league on form. Not probably, they're definitely the two best teams in the league on form. So you have to take that into account. But if you're looking to move forward as a team in the short term, in the next year, you can't be losing these games by 100 and whatever points. I think last week was 90 something, but besides the point, not not good. Not good at all for North. Hawthorn, on the other hand, geez, we'll talk about the elimination final later. But if they get past the Dogs and vice versa, we'll talk about the Dogs later. I think the winner of that game is looking very good. Hawthorn are a threat, massive threat. We've said it week after week now, pretty much. Yeah, just total demolition job. Yeah, is what it is there, I suppose. Geelong and the Eagles comes up right after that. And again, was looking worse initially, a lot worse. I think the margin at halftime, I can actually get it up. I do have a laptop in front of me. Was 100 points at halftime. Margin was 100 points at halftime. And you wonder at that point, like, how far can this go? 114 to 14 at halftime. The final margin ended up being 93 points, 168 to 75. So the Eagles won the second half. So well done to them, I guess. But no, terrible, terrible footy from the Eagles, especially in that first half. Jeremy Cameron, unreal. Boosted himself up to second on the Coleman, if I'm not mistaken. So he finishes second ahead of Charlie Curnow. And we'll talk about the All-Australian team later, but that had quite some effect on that team. But Jeremy torched him. 7 goals in the first half. He should have probably finished on a lot more than 9. But Cats, probably the best possible win you can have going into a qualifying final. So well done to them. Richmond and Gold Coast got a bit better here. I was kind of I expected the two night games to be a lot worse than what they were in terms of margin. So I was kind of resting on this game to be a little bit competitive in terms of giving us something on that Saturday. And I thought Richmond started well. I thought they started well. Um, didn't really end pretty much after quarter time. It was all Gold Coast. They played outstanding footy away from home. Outstanding's a stretch. They played good footy. Buzzwords and whatnot. Sometimes you just drop them. I apologize. No, it was good. It was good from Gold Coast. Not much to write home about again because what does it affect? Richmond could have gotten off the bottom if they won, but I mean they get number one pick now, so silver linings. And Gold Coast, nothing's really happening for them on the ladder. So again, another dead rubber. And when you get to this point of the season, there's a few of them. So yeah, Gold Coast win. We're gonna have a lot of time to talk at the end of this episode because it's a bit of rushing now, but Sunday is gonna be good when we get to that. Before we do that, Brisbane and Essendon. Yeah, this was a game. This was a game of football. I'm going to do a lot more reading into this game over the next couple of weeks, given Carlton are playing Brisbane in that elimination final. I don't think the Lions played their best footy, especially in that last quarter. I thought it was pretty good early on. Um, what the last quarter shows is that they're beatable. Granted, knowing that you've probably got the game in the bag and you're probably guaranteed fifth, how much did they take the foot off the pedal at that stage of the game? I, there are different variables to consider here. Obviously, the Bombers weren't great for most of the game. Is an important detail here, though. But yeah, I think it was a game of football again. There was a lot of inconsequential football happening early in this round, and I think to an extent this game was also pretty inconsequential when you consider that Brisbane were pretty much locked in fifth spot with that win, given they were going into the last quarter 50 points up. They win by 20 points. It was pretty poor in the last quarter, but yeah. And then we ended Saturday night with Sydney and well, it was on the same time as Brisbane and Essendon, but the last game to speak about on Saturday night was Sydney and Adelaide. I didn't watch this game, so I'm looking at it pretty much purely on face value. Good win for Swidney, I was about to say. Good win for the Swans to go into finals, I think, given some of their form. An important, comfortable-ish win to take into that first final, especially considering that's probably Hawks Dogs would be close, but I think Sydney GWS is arguably the closest matchup in finals, and they're going to need as much momentum as they can bring into that game because that matchup, Swans and Giants, is always close. That's probably the best way to describe it. But yeah, Swans good win. Again, not much more to say about a game like this that didn't have as much writing on it, considering they pretty much already wrapped up the minor premiership. Is what it is. Now we go into Sunday. Start with the Dogs and the Giants. Dogs are so interesting. They're so interesting. Obviously, I didn't watch this game. Um, because I was getting ready to go to Carlton St Kilda. I said last week that the Dogs are probably my favorite to win the flag from this point, even in the position that they're in. And I think I'm fairly comfortable sticking with that call, although Hawthorn looked very good, so that final is going to be amazing to watch. But for them, even not having watched the whole game, for them to um, deal with the Giants the way they did is so impressive. And I don't think Ballarat is much of a factor because the Dogs don't play there that often. And even still, the Giants have played them there enough for for that. And it was so windy as well, just from clips I've seen. Like I don't think there's a much of a home advantage in any sense there. So it's just a very good game of football and or a very even game of football rather. And the Dogs got up, and that's these are the kind of games you need to win if you want to be the best. And they're firming to make a good run at it. If they beat Hawthorn, I'm pretty convinced by this Bulldogs team, to be honest. But we'll talk about finals down the line. Yeah, they solidify seventh, I believe, or are they sixth? Oh no, they're sixth. They solidify sixth on the ladder, and they're going to carry some good momentum into finals. And we all know how much that is of importance. So well done to the Dogs. Now we get into the good stuff. Carlton, St Kilda, Freo, and Port. We'll start with the Blues and the Saints, obviously. Wow. I would have been talking about this game very different if the last game had gone the other way. But I think now the overriding emotion is relief, I think, and probably happiness that we are where we are. Because ultimately the ladder just falls the way it is, generally speaking, because the teams in the eight deserve to be there. That's just how it is. And I think we deserve to be there. And you need a bit of luck sometimes to let things fall your way, and that's what happened. And now we're in. The game itself was an interesting one. I thought we were the better team. I thought we deserved to win in the end. Um, I think the footy we played, especially in that last quarter, was very good. And the Saints just managed to get it done, which was frustrating. Where I was sitting on center wing, I had the perfect angle of Jack Higgins just kicking that ball and seeing it go up and then back down and wondering if it was touched on the line, but it was just it was there. And it was probably the second worst moment of my life. I don't remember if I said on episode one that the Hawks game was just about the second worst game of football I had experienced, but this is the one now. Granted, the emotions are different now because it didn't affect us in the end, but in the moment, it was just shocking, soul shattering. Um, but yeah, it is what it is. The Saints now finished 12th with that one. Huge. I don't having sat on it for a day, I don't agree with the people saying that the Saints ultimately just threw away pick five in favor of pick seven and a win that didn't matter because I think these types of wins are so important for a side that is fairly young as well and probably want to build back to where they were a couple of years ago, and they have the facilities to do that. I think it's such an important culture builder, momentum builder at this point in the season moving into the next. I think it'll do them a lot more good than it will harm. And this draft class isn't outstanding anyway, as is, in my opinion. So I think ultimately they're going to find what they need and take what they need at pick 7. I don't think it's anything to worry about or anything to be embarrassed about in terms of the club picking up that win. It was an important win to take, I think. But yeah, was absolutely gobsmacked, shattered, every emotion in the book swirling around in my head going into the last game of the round, which was Freo and Port. And then Port just settled the nerves for us. And they didn't need to win. They didn't need to win, really. Again, I've said a thousand times over the last 2 episodes how important momentum can be. So obviously the overriding uh, motive going into this game for Port was carry the momentum that we've sort of had, having won however many games they've won in a row, 5, 6, 7, I don't know what it is, and taking that momentum into a qualifying final, a home qualifying final. That is important. And obviously they saw it important enough to give this game a red hot crack, and they did. And Freo are out of finals, which is stiff, but it is what it is. I think Freo are a very good team, I think. And um, they would have definitely had a deserved place in finals had they made it. But it's just what happens when there are more than 8 teams that are probably of that quality overall. But yeah, Willie Rioli, thank you, my friend, for those 2 goals in that last quarter. And then Jordan Sweet to put the sweetener on it all. Oh, that's great for me. Yeah, wow. We made it. We made it, people. Thank you. Thank you, Port. And that's my round review. Done. Oh boy. Let's move on. Shall we do a super coach review? I think that's the way to go next. All right, super coach review. A lot better this week. 2-5-7-3. I can't remember if that's a little bit more than a couple of weeks back. But yeah, a really good week. What were let's start with the low points. Heaney, I don't know if I've missed a way to sort of configure this to get a backup in off here, but I couldn't really see a way. So I ended up a man down with Isaac. And then Tom Stewart getting injured. Obviously, that's out of our control. He probably would have gone a lot better than 33, obviously. But that was out of our control. And then Jai Caldwell was a little bit unders. Aside from that, good week. Silly from me looping Gorn instead of Dacos. Don't know why I did that. But I did kind of recoup a little bit. I moved to Flanders, which was smart. So I didn't really expect Richmond to give him much attention. And I did anticipate that he'd be racking those up. So he played well. Entire midfield was very good. All went plus 100. Logan Evans just sitting on my bench went 104. And obviously you can't have the foresight to play him ahead of Stewart or Young or even Martin, but you know, these things happen. Overall, I think it was a good week to finish off the year for Supercoach. All right, we've got a little quiz before I name my All-Australian team for 2024. We've got an All-Australian themed quiz. So there are 165 multiple All-Australians in AFL history. I'm going to attempt to name them all. In 20 minutes, probably less than 20 minutes. If I'm really struggling, I'll give up beforehand as per usual. So I don't waste as much of your time as I need to. But we're going to roll straight into it, I think. So let's do it. 3, 2, 1, go. Should we start from the top? Let's just go from the top. Robert Harvey. Nice. Crows. Who is that? McLeod? Oh, what? Oh dear. Oh, Brent Harvey, hello. Is it Rashudo? It'd be Rashudo. Nice, okay. Cat Sons. Ah, who else? Hawk Swans, that is Buddy Franklin. Um, Crows Cats, that'd be Danger. Kangaroos. Should I be doing this like with more? Well, I'm guessing that's Wayne Carey. Magpies, Buckley. Yes, good. Eagles, Judd. Oh, Eagles Blues is Judd. Cousins. Kerr. No. Bulldogs. Is that Bond? No, it's not. That's way earlier than Bond. Cooney, no. What am I doing? How does Cooney not multiple Australian? Did he just win the Brownlow and then do nothing every other year? Obviously, I'm too young to remember that he was apparently only good for 1 year. Bulldogs, six. Oh, it'd be Brad Johnson. That is silly for me. Oh, Chris Johnson. Hello. Um, Dockers. Pav? Probably not Pav because it looks like. Oh, no, it is Pav. So he didn't make all Australian after 2008. That's interesting. Cats could be anyone. Corey Enright, Scarlo, Selwood, Chapman would have made a couple. Stevie J. No? Oh, I would have already gotten him. Who was he? Yeah, there he is. Um, Jimmy Bartel. Nice. Who's that Eagles one? Be like Darren Glass. He's in there. Eagles between '05 and 2012. Six times. Quinton Lynch. Who could that be? It's a premiership player. Judd, Cousins, Cox. Hello. Um, Magpies. That's a lot. Swan, Pendlebury, um, Demons, Jones, Petrarca, Oliver, Cripps, Bontempelli. I'm just rattling off current players now. Um, Neil, Merritt, Walsh. Only has one at this point. I think he only has one. Anyway, Saint Swans, Lockett. Oh, imagine I missed Tony Lockett. So how far back does this go? Dunstall? Yeah. Would I have gotten Ablett Senior with this? I think I would have if he was on there. Let's just go with Blues players, knock those off. Murphy, Gibbs never made it. What am I saying? Murphy, Pavola. How many times did Cade Simpson make this team? Never. What am I doing? I'm too sentimental. I gotta move away from Carlton players for a minute. Um, there are two. Oh wait, '90s Blues. There'd be so many. Kudafidis. Um, Craig Bradley, Silvani. Yeah. Sticks make any in the '90s? Yeah, twice. Williams. Look at them, they're all popping up. Um, Another two Blues, 96, 97. Oh, geez. I gotta go away from the Blues. I'm getting too tied up on all that. Dustin Martin. I've only got 42. Let's go back to the top and work our way back down again. Gorn. Eagles. Eagles back then. Blanked. Wanganeen. Bombers. Matty Lloyd. Hurd. Lions. Oh, all those Lions. Voss. Black. Ackermanis. Luke Power. John O'Brien. I've got a few Browns there. Got Nate as well. Luke Darcy. No. Bulldogs. Bulldogs. Not Brownie. because we already got him there. Not Das, not Jono. Who played for the Bulldogs in that period? Did Tony Liberatore make enough? I can't spell. No. Oh, Scotty West. That's awful. Crows. S Scotty Thompson. I'm looking at my bookshelf here, and there are three names literally on my shelf that I haven't typed in. Burgoyne. Oh, did I type Burgoyne? Or has he not made two? That's vicious. How is Sean Burgoyne not made two All-Australian teams? That is ridiculous. Eddie Betts didn't put, and Sammy Mitchell also didn't put. I also didn't put Hodge. Jordan Lewis would have made a couple. No? Okay, it's fine. Um, any other names? No, I think we're good. I think we got everyone on the shelf. These are the depths we go to now. Let's keep going down the list. Eagles we didn't know. Crows we didn't know. Saints. Oh, there's heaps. Rewalt, Milne, Lenny Hayes might have made a couple. Yeah. Um, Brennan Goddard might have made a couple. Lions Swans. That feels obvious. That four Lion Swans just feels really obvious, and I can't think for the life of me. 91, 92, 96, 97. Not a clue. Cats. Oh, Hawkins. Cameron. Charlie Cameron we got as well. Four Blues between 93 and 01. That's shocking from me. I'm gonna miss so many Blues, but I'm gonna kick myself at some of these for sure. I think the problem with a quiz like this is it's just overload. So many players in one spot. Josh Carr, I don't know. Yeah, it's just I'm like my eyes are darting back and forth to try and work this out. Brody Grundy, yeah. Any recent ones that I can? Four Eagles between 2016 and 2019. Gaff, oh, he's there. Shuey, is he there? No. Kennedy. Um, Eagles four times between 16 and 19. Oh, McGovern, of course. Rance. Um, who's that power one? 2014 to 2018. Is that Boak? He's on there. Gray. That's Robbie Gray. Um, I'm gonna miss ones that I haven't even looked at the teams. Like, and if I did, I would get it. But my eyes are just darting everywhere. Like, this is crazy. Um, I wish this was more visually appealing, so it'd be easier to sort of set things out and work it out in my head. But we're just gonna find recent ones, I think. Saints 05, 09, 2011. Not coming to my brain, unfortunately. Bulldogs 2009, 2011, 2016. That could be like Bob Murphy. They would have made it in 2016. What am I saying? Easton would make it twice. Matty Boyd. Oh, that's him. There you go. Um, Hawks 2012, 2015, 2016. Ruffy would have made it. Cyril, that's him. Eagles 2012, 2020, 2021. Eagles. Did Jack Darling make it twice? No. Did Mark LaCroix make it twice? No. Ah. Oh, that Eagles one's gonna piss me off. I just know it. 2020, 2021. He made it in COVID year. Oh, that's annoying. Swans 13, 15, 16. Luke Parker. No. Dan Hanbury? That's him. Dockers. Oh, wow. I'm missing a couple of Dockers. Mundy didn't make it. Five. Um, hmm, got Pav. Got Sandy. Did Hayden Ballantyne ever make it? I'm just throwing names at the wall and seeing which ones stick at this point. Giants 16, 21, 23. Did Cornelio make it more than twice? No. Josh Kelly. That's good. I didn't even know if that was Josh or James, to be honest. I don't know if James Kelly made it enough. Where did Kelly go? Who have they given me Kelly? Paul Kelly. Oh, I am an idiot. I am silly. Um, Giants 16, 21, 23. Wow. Whitfield, has he made it more than twice? No. Has he even made it? I don't know. Who plays for the Giants? Sam Taylor? Yeah. Um, Last year a Giants player made it. Who was it? Like one that's made it in the past. Oh, Toby Green. You idiot. You big stiff idiot. Um, Dogs. Trelaw? Oh wait, he's never made it. No. 19, 20, 21 for the Dogs. Oh, I haven't done like current Carlton players. Kerno, Mackay, um, not Walsh, not Wiedering. Sard. He made it once. Wow. Couldn't remember if he made it with the Bombers once or not. Um, that Dogs one's gonna evade me. Oh, Bailey Dale, has he made it twice? No. Caleb Daniel, has he made it twice? No. Who plays good footy at the Dogs? I don't know. I don't know. Cats, 91, 92, 91, 92. Are these all in order of year? Like if I go to the bottom of these, the most recent ones, I think they are. Chad Wingard make it twice? Oh, he did. There you go. Um, Crows 14, 16. Roy Sloan. No. Tigers 12, 15. Koch. Never made it twice. That's already put in. Um, Chris Newman. I don't. Who played for the Tigers back then? 12, 15. Tigers. I don't know. Tom Lynch surely made it twice. No? What is going on with my brain? Go a bit further down. These are recent ones. Hang on. Power 22, 23. That'd be Connor Rosie. Saints 22, 23 would be Jack Sinclair. Suns 21, 22 would be Anderson, maybe. No. Miller. Yeah. Demons 21, 22. Stephen May. Jake Lever hasn't made it twice. Wow. Magpies 2023. More. Darcy Moore. Yeah. Saints 2021. Jack Steele, maybe. Yeah. Lions 1920 Zorko. Have I already put Zorko? Has he made it twice? I don't know. Has he ever made it once? Who knows? Lachie Neal, Josh Dunkley hasn't made it twice. Hugh McCluggage hasn't made it. Danaher? No. Harris Andrews, silly boy. Eagles 18, 19. 92 is a good effort, to be fair. 15 minutes is also a long time. I think I'm going to call it and just read out the 73 names in stupid, like in sadness. I wonder how I forgot them. Peter Matera, I probably wouldn't have thought of in time. Goody makes sense. Tom Stewart, nice one, idiot. I could have just looked at the years there. Paul Roos, Gary Hocking, Ben Hart, Nathan Burke, Croft. Okay, so that's a bad one. Lappin Treadray. Goods is a bad one. Barry Hall is also a bad miss. Guy McKenna, Nigel Smart, Darren Jarman, Gary Lyon. I probably could have worked out. Glenn Archer, Richo. Probably could have worked that one out as well with the '08 there. Could have won a Brownlow that year. Chris Grant, Peter Everett, Justin Lepich, Nick Del Santo is probably the only Saints player I didn't. Oh, I didn't write down Joey Montagna either. He might be on the other side. Oh boy. Nick Nat is the Eagles player I forgot there. McRae, Hinkley, Bairstow, Stewie Lowe, Jim Steins. Oh, that's a bad one as well. Chris Mainwaring, Paul Couch, Nicky Witt. Right next to the Burgoyne, Betts, and Mitchell books. There's a Selwood one there. And then right on the other side is Nicky Winmar. And I looked at the name and I thought, well, why would Nicky Winmar be in there? He played ages ago. He played in the 90s. I'm an idiot. I'm actually stupid. Um, wow, that is dumb. Tony McGuinness, Ben Allen, Tony Modra, that's a bad miss. Jakovic is also a bad miss. Mansfield, Sean Wren, David Neitz is a bad one. Wayne Campbell, Michael Sexton, David King, Mickey O, Rowan Smith, Fraser Gehrig, you idiot. Sean Wellman, Peter Bell, Darren Gaspar. There's some names in here. Brett Ratton, nice one. Dustin Fletcher. Oh, I've missed some names. Primus, Joel Smith, James Clement, Leo Barry, Chad Corns, Kane Corns, and Joel Bowden. Brendan Lade, Craig Bolton, Alan Didak is a bad one. Joel Corey, there's Lee Montagna. Brian Lake, Leon Davis, Travis Cloak, Joe Watson is a Brownlow medalist. Brad Delidio, Daniel Talia, Luke Bruce, Heath Shaw, Michael Hurley, Rory Laird, Elliot Yo, and Shannon Hearn. I forgot some names, but you know what? I'm going to pick shorter quizzes from now on. That's what I need to do. Quite the effort, though. I'll take 92. Probably should have pushed to 100. I should have pushed to 100. That would have been nicer. But you do what you do. Oh well. Anyway, we move on now. All right, All Australian team. Let's do it. So, I think the dilemma that I had, and I'm for the record, I'm pretty happy with what I've got and what I've landed on with this team. But the dilemma that I had, and that I need to preface with saying, is finding the balance between what we all know the All Australian team is going to be, which is so many inside mids, players shoehorned into positions they don't play, so on and so forth, and what the All Australian team actually should be, which is should have two wings, two natural, actual wingmen, six forwards who actually play forward, and not a bench full of midfielders or one ruck and three midfielders. But you have to find the balance. So I think I'm pretty happy with where I've landed. Um, but we're going to get into it, and you can tell me what you think, and I'll stand on it. I'll back myself in, and I'll probably change my mind in the next hour after I stop the recording and this podcast is done. But that's just how we are. So, back line, let's start with that. I've gone with, and I'll pop up line by line on the screen as I go. Back line, we've got Luke Ryan, Jacob Wiedering, and Lockie Whitfield. So we'll start with Luke Ryan. I think he's non-negotiable in this team as that one pure sort of medium-sized defender who has the intercepting capability, clean with the footy, can rebound well, create forward movement. That's a mouthful. I said a lot of words then, but I just think Luke Ryan is very good, and I think the Dockers would be significantly worse without him. And he's had a brilliant year. And it's a shame that the form of some of these Dockers hasn't been able to translate into a top eight spot or general team success, but he's been one of the good ones for them this year. So I think he deserves his spot, and I'm happy with his spot there. Jacob Wiedering, I don't get how this guy consistently gets snubbed. 4 squad appearances. He's going to make it 5, and he hasn't got a blazer. And I think fifth time lucky, this will be the year he gets it because I think he's probably quite clearly one of the 2 best key defenders, and I've only got 2 in this team. Um, but yeah, he's just yeah, mate. I can't stress enough how buggered the Carlton Football Club would be without Jacob Wiedering down there. And I know you shouldn't rely on players, but he's just that kind of player that is the glue that holds everything together, and he makes everyone around him better as well. He's just that player. So he gets his blazer this year, and if not, I will be ropeable. Lockie Whitfield in the other pocket. This was the first instance of me slightly shoehorning a player in because he's not a back pocket. He's a running halfback, but I think I needed to have 3 of them in there because I think all 3 deserve it, and he's landed himself a spot in the back pocket. He's been unreal. Just I'm glad he's turned his career around from sort of the injury cloud that he's had himself under at times previously. Yeah, very good for the Giants this year. Very good in a Giant side that were good on the whole. So I think to star in a team like that is pretty impressive for him. Halfback line: Dane Zorko, Harris Andrews, Dan Houston. Two Lions players make it, and I think they both deserve it damn well. Start with Dane Zorko. For him to move on to this halfback flank, and I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, he moved there after Kitty Coleman did his ACL. So Dane Zorko was a backup plan for pretty devastating circumstances for the Lions. They probably didn't know if it was going to work or not, and I think he's just about been the best halfback in the comp, to be honest. I don't know how I'd rank those 3, Zorko, Houston, and Whitfield, but he's so good, so he deserves his spot. Harris Andrews is I used to not like watching this guy play football. Like he's one of those players that you watch him and you're like, ugh, it's not pretty. But I think I've come to appreciate that aspect of his game. Like he's not pretty. He's not a pretty footballer, but he's just so hard to beat as a key forward. Like he's outstanding. And I think where Brisbane were kind of a little bit off at early season and they recovered and were very good in the second half of the year. And he was good that entire second half. He was also very good when they were down. And he saved them a lot more strife than what they could have had, to be honest. He was one of their good ones in that slump. So impressive from him. Well done, Harris Andrews. And Dan Houston, good player. Good half backman. Not much more to say. If he leaves, Port have a big old hole to fill. They have a big hole to fill on that half back flank. I'm sure they've got youngsters who can play off there. I'm not doubting that they can fill it with a good prospect, but yeah, he's quite comfortably one of the best halfbacks in the comp, and he very much deserves a spot in this team. So there's not much more to say there either. Halfbacks done, backline done. We move into the center. This is the next spot on the ground where I kind of had that dilemma of how do I approach this? Because while we'd all love 2 actual wings, I just felt like there was an inside mid here. And as I said before, I've got I think 7 in this team that are actual inside midfielders this season anyway. And I've already booted out a couple that I feel are very good and extremely stiff to miss. And I would have had to do that again and move this inside mid that I've got on the wing down to a bench and then move one of those bench mids out of the team in favor of someone like a Massimo D'Ambrosio. I just didn't feel comfortable doing it. So our center line is Errol Goulden, Patrick Cripps, and Zach Merritt. Starting with Errol, it's Errol, isn't it? I don't really know what I can actually say that hasn't been said about this guy. He's just so clean. Such a good footballer. Probably the best inside 50 kick in the comp off the top of my head. Can play anywhere. He can play on the wing, obviously. It's where he plays most of his time, but he can play inside, he can play off the half forward flank, and he does it all perfectly. Like he's actually such a good player. Such a perfect player, in my opinion. Um, so yeah, he deserves his spot. Patrick Cripps, inspirational, my captain. Just oh, no one can say a bad word about Patrick Cripps. No one can. If you do, you're just a hater. You're just a hater if you have a bad word to say about this guy. A real shot at his second Brown though. I think he's going to win his second Brown though, but we'll talk about that another day. Just drags us. Granted, we don't always need to be dragged out of sticky situations, but when the team is down, this guy is always underneath, shouldering the load. He's actually just. Ugh. I can't even like finish sentences. I can't even string sentences together talking about this guy. I love you, Patrick. Um, Zach Merritt on a wing. Yeah, a tough one. Obviously, if I have to move Zach down to the bench and put an actual wingman in there, then I'm sacrificing another midfielder spot, as I said, and it gets a bit tough. So I was pretty comfortable putting Zach there because he has been outstanding this year, I think. First half of the year, he was probably shaping a Brownlow fancy, and he tailed off a little bit with Essendon's form, but he was still far and away their best player, trying his damn hardest every week to get him out of the mess they sort of created for themselves. He's just a very good player, and he'll still finish well on Brownlow night as well. But yeah, Zach deserves his spot. Not much more to be said about that. Half forward line. I've gone with Dylan Moore, who deserves his spot very much. As the only real sort of half forward flank that I've got in this team. Charlie Curnow makes the team, and Isaac Heaney on a half forward flank. I know Isaac has been predominantly inside in the midfield this year, but he was the fairest name to put on that half forward flank in my opinion. And you know what? His best footy arguably is still forward of the ball in those sort of positions. Um, Impacting at stoppage, but in front of goal, he's just majestic. Arguably one of the best players this year. I just realized I've gone backwards, so we'll go backwards along this graphic. Yeah, he fantastic. Charlie Curnow, ended up finishing third in the Coleman. Bit of injury hampered him end of the year, and also criticism coming left, right, and center. Crazy. Um, Still had a fantastic year, and this guy, the amount of pressure that gets put on him is absurd, but he's still unbelievable. And if there's room for three key forwards in this team, which I think there is, he's there. I think he's still second best in my opinion, but that's just me. And then Dylan Moore. Dylan Moore, good year. Good consistent year. I think has he been Hawthorn's best player? I think that's fair to say. I think he's been Hawthorn's best player. And yeah, so good. So good. Um, I had him in this team early. I didn't have a team written down in round nine, obviously, but if I was making this team early on, he would have been there, and he stayed in there, and he's impressed me every week. Every time I watch Hawthorn, I'm impressed by this guy, so he deserves his spot for sure. All right, moving on to the forward line. Um, this was the other dilemma I had. Less based on position selection. This was more based on player selection. Because on Thursday I had this team sort of written out, prepared for the pod because I knew I was going to do it. And I had Stengel, Hogan, and Waterman. But Waterman and Jeremy Cameron were like that, neck and neck going into round 24. And I'd pretty much accepted that if one of them had a much better game than the other in that last round, the spot would be theirs. And that was in my head, it was if Jeremy Cameron goes off, he's going to replace Warden. Because I wanted to give Jake Thornton so bad, but Jeremy kicked nine and just snatched it right out from him. Yeah, I think it was fair for me to switch up based on that one game, given how close I thought they were. So yeah, Jess is in. We've said too much about him over the last however many years that he's been doing this. I think everyone knows the player, the quality of player that he is. Tyson Stengel, I think, has been fantastic, has been probably the best small forward, pure small forward in the comp. Um, yeah, I just think he's so good and he deserves this spot in the team for sure. So they're the two Cats players I have in this team. And then Jesse Hogan, Coleman, dominant, just so hard to stop. So hard to stop. Really, really good season. Really deserved Coleman win and will be a deserved Blazer as well for him because he's in. There's no way this goes any other way. So, yeah, for sure. He deserves that one. Um, where am I up to? Followers. Ah, boy. Ruck. It was between two. I'm seeing a lot of Jerry chat. I'm seeing a lot of chat about Jerry, and I get it. I do. He deserves it. He's very good, so good. Had an amazing year. But I just think we're being a little bit not disrespectful, but we're discrediting the year that Brody Grundy has had just a little bit too much. And we're forgetting the player that he is a little bit too much. So my followers are Brody Grundy, Marcus Bontempelli, and Nick Dacos. Brody, for that first probably 14 weeks of the year where Sydney were unstoppable, this guy was just unplayable as a ruck. Such a good ruckman. Him and Gawn were the two clear best at that point, and Gawn has fallen away quite dramatically and had that injury and whatnot. But Grundy was outstanding. And then even in the form slump, this guy is playing good footy. Like he never dropped off. So I don't know why people were suddenly forgetting who this guy is. So I love Jerry, and we'll talk about him in a minute. But Grundy is the All-Australian ruckman for me. I don't think we can discredit him here. And then next to Grundy, we've got Bont and Dacos. Start with Bont. Just unbelievable. He's still not going to get that Brownlow this year, which is, well, he might, to be fair. He's had some very good games. Like I can't write him off completely because you never know. But if we're expecting Dacos and Cripps to be above or ahead of him, he may not get that Brownlow again, and he so badly deserves it because he's one of the best players I've ever seen. But nonetheless, outstanding season from him. Captaincy is probably gonna come down to him or Cripps. So we'll see what happens there. But next to him, Nick Dacos, unreal, unreal. Such a good football player. Such a good football player, man. People, to an extent, rightfully so, but people are hard on him about the immature, inexperienced qualities on his game. Um, the kid's 22. Those things are gonna be polished out, and when they are, scary football player because he's already so good at footy. And he had done a real year, and he deserves his spot. So Nick, good, good. Moving on to the bench. So what I've got, I could have easily just loaded this bench with four inside mids because there are two or three, and I'm going to go through a few players that were stiff to miss in my opinion. In a second, but there were probably two or three inside mids that really could have and should have been in this team that weren't. On the bench, I've opted to go with one ruck, two inside midfielders, and then one player who has pretty much played everywhere this year. bit of halfback, bit of half forward, bit of inside midfield time. And I think he's been good enough that he deserves his spot and he kind of covers all bases. So I like him being in this team as that 22nd man. The four names I've gone with are Jerry, Neil, Sarong, and Harry Sheezel. So North, you've got a couple of names on there. Let's start with Big X. Um, I did kind of foreshadow before saying that we'd talk about him in a minute, but he's a fantastic ruckman and he does deserve to be in this team. But um, I just didn't like putting him ahead of Grundy. I didn't like that thought at all because I think Grundy is the best ruck in the comp and has been the best ruck in the comp. And I didn't really feel comfortable discrediting the season he's had because of a general team slump when I thought he was quite good in there, as I said before. But Jerry's been great and he still deserves his spot and he's probably going to be the best ruck in the comp in a couple of years when those older heads sort of start to decline a little bit. Um, yeah, Jerry, fantastic. I hope he gets the spot. If there's two ruck spots, I would hope he gets the second one. If there's one, I think it should be Grundy. So if he misses on the basis of there only being one spot for a ruckman, I'm okay with it. Next to him, Lockie Neal, another Brownlow quality year. Like he's gonna poll a lot of votes and he's gonna finish well. And if he won another one, I wouldn't be too surprised. Deserves his spot in this team for sure. Caleb Sarong, another player who deserves their spot massively, just a fantastic midfielder. I think he'd be a lot more appreciated if he played for a bigger club. That's just a fact. Sorry, Freo fans, you're not the most massive team in the competition. That's just how it is. But he's just week in, week out, he was putting in the performances. This guy is just really good at football and deserves his spot again. And the last name on my bench was Harry Sheezel. I felt comfortable putting him here because if I had to put him on field, I don't really think I would know where to put him. Like, could put him on halfback because that's where he started and has played a lot of his career. Could put him on half forward because that's where he's played a lot of in the last sort of few weeks. He's been kicking goals, he's been doing everything. Probably wouldn't be room for him in the inside mid spots because there are better players, but he's played there as well, has been fantastic in those roles. I just think he's turning into he's already North's most reliable player, in my opinion. And he's already turned into a pretty fantastic footballer. Um, I think that last spot on the interchange bench is probably up for debate because I've got some very good players who have missed out. A couple in particular who I think were extremely stiff. But I really wanted Sheasel in this team, and I think I'm pretty happy with where I've landed with it. Moving on to those players who have been stiffed a little bit. I've got six names, and here they are on the bottom of the screen in the stiff category. Chad Warner is captain of this category. I tried so hard to fit Chad in, so hard to fit Chad in, and really the last dilemma I had was Chad or Sheasel. And I liked the versatility of Sheasel's game and the consistency across the year, despite it being for a much worse team and having not had as good of a peak or peaks as Warner has had. But Chad's sort of last 6 weeks, I want to say, particularly through the Swan slump, he dipped massively and it kind of soured me a little bit in terms of this team. And that was probably the difference for me in the end. With Chad being in this team and not being in this team. Because those three players at the back of the bench, Neil, Sarong, and Sheasel, and then the inside mids in the team, of course, have all been a lot more consistent. And if I only had a certain number of spots and he was right on that line, the cutoff, it was hard to give him the benefit. The other five names that I've got next to Chad, in this stiff to miss category, Adam Treloar, who I thought was fantastic for most of the year, and again, like the inside mid spots that I've handed out are just they're all so good. And it was hard having seven proper inside mids from this season in this team, it was a pretty hard cut-off once I'd exhausted those spots, and Trelaw was just a level under for me, as was Tom Green, who I thought was also fantastic for the Giants. And then these three, Waterman, we spoke about before, was very stiff because he was in it as of Thursday, but I only created room for three, and he was probably fourth, so unlucky to him. Rowan Marshall, I thought was the third best ruck, and I thought he was very, very good. But you're not putting three rucks in an Australian team, so stiff, but fantastic. And then Sammy Flanders, who not enough people talk about how good this guy is. And at the start of the year, I said, and we're going to do prediction reviews later, but I did say that Sam Flanders would be one of those surprise All Australian picks. I was pretty confident he'd get in on a half forward flank. They move him to half back. He was outstanding. They move him into midfield. He's been playing a lot more inside mid the last few weeks, and he's been outstanding again, but he's just that level under all the players I named again. But fantastic nonetheless. So that's the All Australian team. Pretty happy with it. Obviously, people are going to disagree. I'm pretty pleased with what I've put together. It's a hard team to build this year, considering how many players have been as fantastic as they've been, and how many players probably deserve a nod, particularly in those midfield spots. It's really hard to find that cutoff, and I think I'm happy with what I did there. Um, YouTube viewers, I'll pop that team up on screen now again, so you can visualize that in full. Audio listeners, I will read it out, so you can hear it, and then we'll wrap up. So, backline. Luke Ryan, Jacob Wiedering, Lockie Whitfield, Dane Zorko, Harris Andrews, and Dan Houston. Midfield, on the wings, we've got Errol Goulden and Zach Merritt. Patrick Cripps in the middle. Brodie Grundy in the ruck with Bont and Dacos making up that midfield. Forward line, Dylan Moore, Charlie Curnow, Isaac Heaney, Tyson Stengel, Jesse Hogan, and Jeremy Cameron. And on the bench, we've got Tristan Jerry, Lockie Neal, Caleb Strong, and rounding it all out was Harry Sheezel. Pretty pleased with that. Pretty happy with that. So that is it for episode 3 of Footy and Stuff. Thank you for watching, listening, however you choose to consume the pod. I appreciate it any which way. We've made it to the end of the year, end of the home away season, which is great. Obviously, I've only done 3 episodes. I haven't been around the whole time. But as a general AFL fan base, we've made it, and that is great because finals is fun, and we're pumped for it. And we're going to review that in depth next week, which is great. But until then, thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, comment suggestions, feedback is always helpful. Spotify, give us a rating, a follow. Follow us on Insta, Twitter, at Footy and Stuff Pod. Follow my personal TikTok for clips. Or if you just like seeing my face, feel free. I don't mind. But until next week, where we review what is going to be an unreal final series, I will see you later. Goodbye.